This is your boy Dedrian Colon from House of Wrestling, and this is my review for the March 5th Impact Wrestling PPV Sacrifice. This was a pretty dope show. It ironically fell on the same day of the very hyped up Madison Square Garden live event from the WWE. That's a whole nother video that honestly I just don't want to do. But yeah, same night and everything. Of course, on social media, more attention was given to the WWE live event at Madison Square Garden because of the potential of you don't know who Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar's surprise opponents were, and when they revealed, yeah, Twitter didn't like it. But back to Impact Wrestling. This was, I'm not going to say this was a pay-per-view that was regressing as far as, oh God, Impact Wrestling is going back into their habits and everything. And it wasn't so much a pay-per-view like, oh my God, it's making this tremendous leap for the company to grow and everything. This was a cool pay-per-view with solid matches that there was a lot of changes, and we're going to get into those changes, and it was more title changes, which was like, oh, okay. But I enjoyed the show. It wasn't overproduced, and at times it wasn't like, it didn't feel like it was, I don't want to use the word cheap, but just like very mediocre. It wasn't like that or anything. If you're a fan of Impact Wrestling and, you know, you're into Impact Wrestling, which I know most, I wouldn't say most, some of you guys who are my subscribers are Impact Wrestling fans, and if you like it, this was a solid pay-per-view. It wasn't anything that we kind of saw last year and even the year before, where it was just like there's things that aren't clicking. Like, this is good, this is this is all right. And this was a pretty solid show all around, and I'm looking forward to what they're gonna do going forward. I wish, and I know many other Impact Wrestling fans maybe along the same lines as me, I honestly wish Impact Wrestling was on a different network. They have a lot of talent. Their stories are pretty decent. It's not, I'll put it to you this way, it's a lot better than whatever the NWA is producing, because that's a chore to get through that programming. And it's no knock at the wrestlers, it's just how it's presented, and just it's a challenge to get through it. So bear with me. For those of you watching this video, I do have a little bit of cold, but I want to give you guys this review of Impact Wrestling Sacrifice. So if you see me drink water while I do that, I'm trying to keep my mouth and nasal passage moist because it's getting dry and irritated, and it doesn't feel too good. So the first match was Jake Something and Trey Miguel. This was a dope match. I'm really liking the matches that Jake Something, Mike Bailey, I'm trying to think of who else was there. It's off the tip of my tongue. But those two guys in particular, I really like what they're doing. Jake Something, this was a stellar match between him and Trey Miguel. These guys did an awesome, it was an awesome match. Back and forth. You had the power and speed aspect where it was that dynamic where if you have guys who are on the same page and have a very athletic skill set, you could tell a really good story in the ring, and I enjoyed it. Jake Something, he threw his power. Trey Miguel, who I kind of call him Spider-Man because I think he had a Spider-Man costume one time in October for Halloween or something like that. But this was a really cool match. I wish they would elevate some of these guys more. Like Jake Something, they've been presenting them pretty solid and heavily on Impact Wrestling TV, and it's like, okay, you're presenting them strong. Maybe it's time to like bump him up and give him, something meaty and everything. But no, this was a really good match. Trey Miguel pulls out the victory. He retains the X Division Championship. That's pretty interesting that Jake Something is in the X division when years ago it's pretty interesting. But then again, the X division did, if I remember correctly, back in the day, and it's funny, back in the early 2000s when AJ Styles and Petey Williams and Chris Sabin and oh my God, who else? Christopher Daniels, those guys were in the X division. The X division moniker was No Limits or X Limits or just whatever it was. Backstage, you get a promo with Tasha Steele. She's confident. Again, this is another person along the lines of Jake Something that they've been pushing really strong, and she is really coming to her own since her and Savannah Evans have been paired up, and there's just a strong, like, it's crazy because when she was Fire and Flavor, I believe that was tagging, forgive me guys, when she was with Kiera Hogan, like Kiera Hogan was the one that was the strong, like the one that you're like you could say the alpha, like she was the alpha and Tasha was like the beta, and like it's like, okay, 1, 2, it's like, all right, Kiera Hogan's the one that's just that person. And then once they split up and Kiera Hogan, moved on, it's kind of reversed. Like Tasha Steele is at another level, and man, she is putting together some great matches. But this promo was pretty cool. Then after that, you had Eddie Edwards versus Rhino. And Eddie Edwards came to the ring with Honor No More, and Rhino came to the ring with the Impact Wrestlers. And again, this is a continuation of the turn that Eddie Edwards did against the Impact Wrestlers back at Hard to Kill, I believe it was. But yeah, this was a solid match. I don't know. I think it's hard for me to say. I can't say that it's like, oh my God, this is just horrible. Like, I can't say that, and I can't say, oh my God, this is an amazing match, because we have had a variation of combinations between Eddie Edwards and Rhino in some matches, whether it was a fatal 4-way, a triple threat. Like, you've had those combinations, so it's kind of like almost along the lines like, okay, it feels like I've seen this already, so okay, it's cool. It's a cool dynamic and wrinkle that you have Honor No More and Team Impact going at it, so it's like, it's all right, but it's not like, oh man, I want to see this. Like, okay, get through this. I want to see something else and everything. And again, this is not a knock at the wrestlers. This is just how they've been presented and how creative at Impact Wrestling has presented them. That's just how it's come across. From there, you had a backstage segment with Caleb, Madison Rayne, and Tenille Dashwood. This promo, it came across like, damn, is Caleb actually going to turn on the Influence, Tenille Dashwood and Madison Rayne? Like, is he going to, like, it gave you that sense like, ooh, I think it's going to happen. I think he's going to turn on him. I think he's going to turn on him. It left you with that. Then the next match, of course, was the Inspiration versus Madison Rayne and Tenille Dashwood, the Influence. And this was a pretty solid match. I will say there were moments, maybe it's because 3 of the participants in the match came from WWE. It did feel like a women's tag team match, unlike WWE main event. Like, it didn't feel like this was a Impact Wrestling tag team match. It felt more like a WWE women's tag team match. That's what it kind of felt like. Again, this isn't a bad thing, but it's just, that's how it came across. Like, okay, this feels like more of a WWE style. It's like, okay, all right, that's pretty cool. But it was a decent match. It was solid. And towards the end of the match, was it Allison Kay or Cassie Lee? I believe it was Cassie Lee. No, it was Allison Kay. One of the two from the Inspiration were distracted, and Caleb had the Impact Wrestling Women, or the Knockouts Tag Team title, and he throws it in the ring, and I believe it was Tenille Dashwood gets the title, knocks out one of the Inspiration, pass it back to him. 1, 2, 3. And the Influence, not the Inspiration, the Influence are the new Knockouts tag team champions, and Caleb and Tenille Dashwood and Madison Rayne, they celebrated, and it was like, whoa. But commentary brought up something interesting, and they're like, hey, was Caleb intending to throw it to the influence, or did he want to throw it to the inspiration? So that was pretty setting those that foundation, planting those seeds. Like, was he trying to give it to the influence, or was he trying to give it to the inspiration? Very interesting. Again, it wasn't too much, it wasn't too little, but the way the ending came across, it did leave you with that, okay, where's this Caleb thing going? Like, was it a mistake? Was it on purpose? Simple storytelling. All right, cool. You kind of got me invested to see where this is going to go. And everyone, and all four of these women, including Caleb, they don't do too much with what they have as far as backstage segments. It's very to the point. So it's not over dramatic where it's like, oh God, okay, this getting on. It's like, ooh, okay, this is interesting. From there, you had a backstage segment with Rhino and Heath Slater. I believe that was Santino Marella, formerly of the WWE. It looked like him. I don't know if that was him, but it did look like him. He came as Rhino and Heath Slater were talking. He gave Heath Slater a pep talk. He's like, I've known you for a while. Man, you can do it. You've overcome all this. And Heath Slater gets pumped up, and he exits the shot. And then from there, they go back to commentary. Brian Myers is there with his action figure and this table. And then you get W. Morrissey coming out, confronting Brian Myers. And before you know it, security's trying to block him off. And he tries to lunge at Brian Myers. One of the security guards blocks him. Morrissey power bombs one of the security guards through the table and leaves. He gives fist pumps. Like, he reminded me kind of like a Sid Vicious back in the day, doing that fist bump. It's like, man, you're channeling your inner Sid Vicious. It was a decent segment. It wasn't too long. It wasn't too short. It was all right. And actually, Brian Myers does a really good job of doing those segments. I'm surprised that WWE didn't use him more like that. Like, it's just a natural fit for him. Like, you just had him as Kurt Hawkins in catering. Like, that doesn't make any sense. From there, you had PCO versus Jonah. Ooh, boy. This match, this was, how do I put this? It's kind of hard to say. Because I know with Jonah, I've always compared him to, he has Big Van Vader's size, but he has Bam Bam Bigelow's like skill set and athleticism. Like, he has that combo. And PCO, of course, he was Carl Ouellet. He was one of the Quebecers with Jacques Rougeau back in 1994. So yes, PCO wrestled in the WWF in 1994. He is a former WWF Tag Team Champion, the Quebecers. It's Jacques Rougeau and Carl Ouellet. I believe that's how his name is pronounced. But yeah, this PCO Jonah match, they performed every spot that a big man would do on the outside ring. There is a spot where Jonah, he gave PCO a pile driver on the steel steps, picks him up, and then power bombs him on the floor. Like, there was no table or nothing. He just legit boom. And I tweeted this out. Like, man, I don't know how PCO can still take those bumps at his age. Like, everything he's done. Like, I remember the GOD at, was it the MSG event that Ring of Honor and New Japan had back in 2019. Like, he took a over the ropes from Tama Tonga Loa, where he like flat on the ground. Like, man, I don't know how that dude's still walking. I don't know if he, like, what his workout regimen is, his diet, but man, that dude takes some bumps that I'm like, damn, man, how are you walking? And yeah, this match, Jonah won. I'm not surprised. Me personally, I would have wished that this match would have been more of a squash, considering Jonah's He's younger, he's stronger, he's bigger. He was pushed like a monster in WWE's NXT before he was released, and you're pushing him like a monster, and just to have him, I don't know, it was like kind of like, and of course I know many of you who watched AEW Rampage yesterday. Keith Lee fought JD Drake. It's different because JD Drake is younger, and PCO is pretty much what, that's 28 years. Yeah, that was 28 years ago that he was a WWF champion. Like, that match should not have been longer than what it was. It should have been somewhat of a squash match. Now, I know, I get it. PCO is a part of Ring of Honor and Honor No More faction and everything, but you got to be realistic. Like, Jonah having a hard time going against PCO, like, come on, like, there's some point where you have to be realistic. Like, PCO, yes, he was booked like a monster in Ring of Honor. That was cool for that time. And by that time, I'm talking about 2018. It's 4 years later. Like, there should be, like, you got to progress the thing. From there, we had a backstage segment with Jay White talking about the Bullet Club and his match against Alex Shelley. And the backstory between Alex Shelley and Jay White. Alex Shelley trained and was a mentor to Jay White. And now the student is pretty much saying, you know what, I don't need you, I'm better than you, and I'm going to prove it in the ring. And from there, that backstage segment, we get the Alex Shelley Jay White match. This was, man, I would say this was probably the second best match of the night. This was a really good match. And I tweeted this, Jay White's had some solid matches with Trent Beretta in AEW, Eric Young, and now Alex Shelley. And this was a solid, fun match. It was good to see Alex Shelley back in the ring. I haven't seen him in the ring in a long time. Of course, he was, if I remember correctly, he was getting his degree. I can't remember what field, but he was getting, finishing up school and getting his degree. Kudos to him for doing that. But yeah, this match, this was like Alex Shelley from like 6 years ago with Motor City Machine Guns. And I tweeted, I'm like, man, they need to bring back the Motor City Machine Guns, man. You already got Chris Sabin there. You got Alex Shelley. Come on, put it together. But man, this was a really good match. Jay White, man, the matches he's had over here stateside have been really, really good, fun, and just a blast to watch where you're just sitting back. And what I like about Jay White's matches, especially this one, that a really good wrestling match is when you have two wrestlers in the ring that are really good, skill set and everything. They complement each other, and the match is going back and forth, and you don't know who the hell's going to win. And of course, as wrestling fans, we're familiar with wrestling tropes and storylines, and okay, the storyline's got to go here and there. But when you get a really good match where you don't know, okay, I know the story's going here, but it looks like they're going this way. That's a great wrestling match, and this match had that. I recommend you guys check it out. Of course, at the end, there was a hint, Alex Shelley went to give Jay White the handshake, like, okay, you're a better man. Jay White attempts to do it and walks away, starts laughing and mocking Alex Shelley for the handshake gesture. So, again, Jay White's doing his heelish thing, but that's what he does. From there, we had a backstage segment of Violent by Design, pretty much talking about, and it was more Eric Young, telling the Good Brothers, like, hey, the deal's already done. We want our title match, and we want to get your titles. That's it. Then we have a match with Deonna Purrazzo and open challenge. Who's going to challenge her? And it's Chelsea Green, and she challenges her for the Ring of Honor Women's Championship. The match, this was a pretty solid match. Chelsea Green she's taken a lot from her husband, Matt Cardona, as far as intensity, just aggression in the ring, and just elevating her skill set and just her presentation on screen to another level. This was a really solid match. And then there's a moment in the corner where Chelsea Green's like hitting Deonna Purrazzo, and Deonna Purrazzo somehow kicks her left wrist. And the story behind her left wrist was she broke it while in the WWE, and she was healing while when the WWE released her and everything, and she still had issues. So I don't know if it's real or not, but there was no medical thing, but Deonna Purrazzo just started attacking it, and I believe it finished in either DQ or no contest, so there was no title change or anything like that. And of course, Mickie James comes out to help Chelsea Green to make sure she's okay, and then Tasha Steelz and Savannah Evans comes in, and then we're right to the Knockouts Championship match with Tasha Steelz and Mickie James. For me, this match, Tasha Steelz and Mickie James, was the match of the night. They went back and forth. It's so cool seeing, I don't care if they're men or women wrestlers, it's so cool to see two wrestlers that are at an elevated height as far as wrestling, popularity, skill set, match quality, everything. Mickie James is coming off of the Royal Rumble entry and the buzz that she got from there. She's been putting solid matches. And even before that, she was putting up solid matches, but it just heightened more with her appearance in the Royal Rumble. Tasha Steelz, she won the Ultimate X match, and ever since she's won the Ultimate X match, I believe at Hard to Kill. Was it Hard to Kill? Yeah, I believe that was. She's taken her talents and just everything she's doing, her mic skills, promo skills, to another level. And man, this match was a blast. It was back and forth. Again, the same thing I said about the Alex Shelley, Jay White match. This match, you kind of got a sense, okay, this is probably going to go here, it's probably going to go there, but you didn't know who was going to win. And I predicted it before the match started. I tweeted out, we have a new women's Knockouts champion, and that is Tasha Steelz. She beat Mickie James. It was crazy because it was just like, I can't remember what move she did, but when she performed it, it's like, okay, Mickie James is going to kick out. I was like, 1, 2, 3, and it was like, oh crap, she won. Whoa, Tasha Steelz won. And shout out to Tasha Steelz. She is the first Afro-Latino champion in Impact Wrestling. That's dope. That is dope that she accomplished that. Kudos to her. I look forward to seeing what she's going to do. The past few weeks, if you've been watching Impact Wrestling TV, just whether it was her promos or her matches, you got the sense like they got to put the title on her. Like she's there. Like give her she's there. You got to give her the title. Like she's up to the same par as what Deonna Purrazzo is doing, Mickie James, Jordan Grace. Like she's in that level. Like, okay, now you gotta give her the title and get her in that room. But man, that was the match of the night for me. That was a solid match. I enjoyed it. I recommend you guys check it out. It was a fun match. That and the Jay White Alex Shelley match. But this Mickie James Tasha Steelz match was phenomenal. And kudos to Savannah Evans for interfering, but not to the point where it came across like, okay, yeah, she's interfering. She's gonna, Tasha Steelz gonna get the title because of the interference. It wasn't necessarily like that. It was just like, oh damn, Mickie James fought it off again. It's like, oh, it's like 2 or 3 times that it happened. It was like, okay, maybe Mickie James is gonna win this, and something out of the blue, and then boom, Tasha Steelz is the new Knockouts champion. From there, we have the tag team match between the Good Brothers and Eric Young and Joe Doring. This was a solid match. It is good to see the Good Brothers back in the Bullet Club colors. It just feels like with the Good Brothers that once they left the Bullet Club it was 6 years ago when they left New Japan and went to WWE, things just never clicked. And I think once Kenny Omega was the Impact champion, they had that little run with the Elite, the Young Bucks, the Bullet, Kenny Omega, and the Good Brothers. Like that revitalized them. But then once Kenny lost the title and they went back on their own, it was just like, something's off. But now they're back with the Bullet Club. This was dope. You kind of got a sense. This one, you kind of saw a mile away. Like, you know what? these guys are probably going to get the tag titles. And because, I mean, the Good Brothers have had the tag titles for, oh my God, what, months? Like more than 3, 4, 5 months they've had it. Like, I can't remember the last time they lost the titles. I think they lost the titles. I don't know. But yeah, we got new Impact Wrestling Tag Team Champions, Joe Doran and Eric Young, Violent by Design. So this is interesting because it's interesting to see where the Bullet Club is going to go now that Jay White won, the Good Brothers lost, and the Chris Bay is there. So it's interesting how this Bullet Club dynamic is going to work out, considering Jay White won and the Good Brothers lost. So there's going to be an interesting dynamic to see how this unfolds on Impact Wrestling on Thursday. And then, we get to the main event, Moose versus Heath Slater. You kind of figured who was going to win this match. You don't expect Impact going to put the title on Heath Slater. And again, this is not a diss at Heath Slater or anything like that, but it's just, who's got the push, who's solid. And Heath Slater's just come back, maybe 2 weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, maybe a month or so. And so he hasn't had that push where it's like, oh man, okay, man, this is like, all right, man, this guy's got momentum. All right, man, okay, you need to put the title on. It's like he really doesn't have that momentum to get the title yet. This more felt like a filler championship match almost. Like it was building up to something else. So, of course, Moose wins, and he's celebrating, and then out of nowhere, we see Josh Alexander beat the hell out of Moose, attack him, and he just beats him, grabs the microphone. He's like, hey, you know what? You sent me home, and I was not too far from Anthem Sports, who owns Impact Wrestling. I wound up getting a new contract, a multi-year contract. And guess what else I got? I got a contract for a title shot at, I believe it's Rebellion. So we're going to get Moose versus Josh Alexander at Rebellion for the Impact Championship. I look forward to that match. I anticipate they might do the switch and make Josh Alexander the world champion. Me personally, I've said this before, and I know you guys who are my subscribers and left comments, we differ on that. But I do feel that it would make more sense to have Matt Cardona world champion, considering he's the NWA world champion. He's appearing in GCW. He's appeared in, oh my God, I believe Warriors of Wrestling. He's appearing in a lot of promotions, getting his name out there, and I think that would help Impact Wrestling to grow more out of their bubble, to have him there as champion. But maybe that's down the line in the summer, later this year, that Matt Cardona is world champion. But not right now. It's more than likely going to be Josh Alexander winning the world title at Rebellion. So, yeah, that was the Impact Wrestling pay-per-view Sacrifice. Hey, like I said, this was a really cool pay-per-view. It didn't leave anybody disappointed. They didn't give off the perception that a major debut was going to happen in their pay-per-view, like a certain live event that happened in Madison Square Garden. That's a whole nother subject that I'm not surprised everything happened the way it did. It is what it is. But yeah, this was a really good match. Like I said, I recommend you guys check out the Mickie James, Tasha Steelz match, and the Alex Shelley, Jay White match. Those two matches were by far the matches of the night. But hey, Impact Wrestling put on a solid performance, a solid pay-per-view. Look forward to seeing what happens on Thursday. Things are interesting in Impact Wrestling. I give them credit. Things are looking interesting in Impact Wrestling. Let's see what happens after Sunday's AEW Revolution. There's word of a few things happening. See how that transpires. Forbidden Doors supposedly open. I don't know. It's a lot of cool things. But thank you guys. subscribers and all of you who are watch my videos. Like, subscribe, follow, hit the notifications. House of Wrestling on all social media platforms. Follow me, Dedrian Colon, at Dedrian180 on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Thank you guys so much. I will have a review for AEW Revolution. I look forward to that freaking pay-per-view because it's stacked. So until next time, I'll see you then. I forgot one thing, like I always say. It's wrestling. Enjoy it. Stop fighting. Look what's going on in the world. Just enjoy and escape in the beautiful world of professional wrestling. All right? It's cool. We got multiple promotions. Enjoy it. All right? So with that,